For joining us again from a long absence from the holidays and a number of other things that have interfered. We're going to jump back into our morning five, and today we're going to start a reading through the Gospel of Luke, looking at the life of Jesus, and hope you'll join us as we continue this journey through the Gospel. Mark, take it away.
Luke chapter 1, beginning in verse 1, many have undertaken to compile a narrative about the events that had been fulfilled among us, just as the original witnesses and servants of the word handed them down to us. So it also seemed good to me, since I have carefully investigated everything from the very first, to write to you in an orderly sequence, most honorable Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things about which you have been instructed. In the days of King Herod of Judea, there was a priest of Abijah's division named Zechariah. His wife was from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. Both were righteous in God's sight, living without blame according to all the commands and the requirements of the Lord. But they had no children because Elizabeth could not conceive, and both of them were well along in years. When his division was on duty and he was serving as priest before God, it happened that he was chosen by lot, according to the custom of the priesthood, to enter the sanctuary of the Lord and burn incense. At the hour of incense, the whole assembly of the people were praying outside. An angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing to the right of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was terrified and overcome with fear. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, because your prayers have been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will name him John. There will be joy and delight for you, and many will rejoice at his birth. He will be filled with the Holy Spirit while still in his mother's womb. He will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the disobedient to the understanding of the righteous, to make ready for the Lord a prepared people." "How can I know this?" Zechariah asked the angel, "for I am an old man, and my wife is well along in years." The angel answered him, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God, and I was sent to speak to you and tell you this good news. Now listen, you will become silent and unable to speak until the day these things take place, because you did not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their proper time." Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah, amazed that he stayed so long in the sanctuary. And when he came out, he could not speak to them. Then they realized that he had seen a vision in the sanctuary. He was making signs to them and remained speechless. When the days of his ministry were completed, he went back home. After these days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and kept herself in seclusion for 5 months. She said, "The Lord has done this for me. He has looked with favor in these days to take away my disgrace among the people." David?
Well, as we look at these 25 verses, there's a lot we could talk about. I want to point to two ideas. Very first of all, when Luke begins to introduce this gospel, he tells Theophilus, this individual that he's writing the letter to, that he has written these things out so that you may know. And as we read through this gospel together, I hope we understand that we can read these things as did Theophilus, and our faith can be increased, and we can have assurance and confidence. Our faith is based upon the testimony of these individuals who've recorded these things by inspiration. But the second thing is just this whole interplay between Elizabeth and Zechariah in the Lord. Elizabeth is found to be barren, and Zacharias was advanced in age. And that kind of brings to mind all these Old Testament characters, Abraham and Sarah and Hannah and all these others, Samson's mother and father, all these other individuals that just tell us God has chosen these individuals to show his power and do great things. Before Jesus even came, God was preparing the way. And John was going to be, according to Malachi chapter 4, this in the spirit of Elijah. But I think more than just showing God's power, it gives us a glimpse of really what his purpose is going to be. God is going to accomplish something through John and the one he speaks of, most notably, give life to the lifeless. As we ended up in verse 25, when Elizabeth found herself pregnant and put herself in, he said, he looked with favor upon me, and he's taken away my disgrace among men. That's what God was going to accomplish through Jesus, and John was showing the way.
Yeah. I would point out as well at the end of verse 20, where the angel Gabriel, and I think it's just cool that angels have names. The angel says that this will be fulfilled these will be fulfilled in their proper time, that God has a timetable, and God does things on his timetable. He is faithful. I mean, the Jews had waited hundreds of years for this moment. In fact, arguably going back to Genesis, thousands of years for this moment. And how many times did people wonder, is God actually going to do what he said he would do? And here the angel is reminding them, no, in the proper time, when God is ready, God acts and does what God knows needs to be done.
Well, and I mean, you're just surprised. I mean, we go from the end of Malachi to the beginning of the Gospels, and hear this angel speaking to Zacharias. That had to be tumultuous because we have no record of God speaking during that time. So the shock.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I saw a cartoon one time. If you go back to Ezekiel and the description of the spiritual beings, multiple-eyed and everything, and it had Zechariah there and had one of those beings like that, and it said, "Do not be afraid," and the caption said, "This is literally the most frightening thing I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah. Well, great
I'm not sure
introduction.
why that was relevant.
It's great.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for joining us today. I hope that helps you. If you have any thoughts about the opening of the Gospel of Luke, let us know in the comments below, and we look forward to this journey together. We'll pick up again tomorrow in the rest of chapter 1. Have a great day.